Oh, Jake Butt went down holding his right leg. Oh, you hate to see this. The Mackey Award winner and has a bright future in the NFL. Oh, you hate to see that.
With the 145th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jake Butt, Michigan.
A long way for that young man. NFL insider Adam Schechter joining us. He had an insurance policy. We knew that. But Jake Butt lost millions of dollars after being injured in the Orange Bowl. That comes a year after Notre Dame's Jalen Smith, hurt in the Fiesta Bowl, has yet to play for the Cowboys. He was a first-round pick, and then he dropped to the second. How do you think Butt's ordeal will affect future college stars, especially coming off Jalen Smith and now Butt?
Well, we saw this year Christian McCaffrey pull out of the bowl game. We saw Leonard Fournette pull out of the bowl game. And unless you're playing for a national championship or in the Final Four, I think you're going to see more and more top prospects forego their final game of the year. If they've made it through that far, this becomes a business decision. And the school has prospered and profited off these young players, and it's time for the young players to look out for themselves. And if it means missing the Chick-fil-A Bowl or whatever it may be, that's the way it goes. Because to see Jake Butt go down, to see Jalen Smith last year, who some people regarded as the best player in the draft, fall to the second round, it's not right. It's not fair. And the players have begun to think of themselves. They're going to think of themselves more in the future. And I think all these advisors this year who saw Fournette and McCaffrey pull out, saw the results. Fournette goes 4, no issues. McCaffrey goes 8, no issues. Jake Butt falls down to the top pick of the 5th round. And again, in this league, it's really about the second contract, not the first for a rookie. But still, there's an opportunity lost. Now, Jake Butt wound up going to a great city, great organization, and it's a great spot for him to be. But had he gone in the first round or the second round, there was a lot of money there that potentially was left on the table that if he makes it back, he'll make it back. He'll be fine.
Yes.
But there are going to be players that are not going to take that risk in the future, and that's, in my mind, the right thing to do.
And then you bring up, like a Jalen Smith guy. We're not sure what his future is going to look like when he could have been a surefire first-round pick.
And teams don't hold it against the players. If they do, that's moronic.
Yes. What are you hearing right now when you talk around with executives around the league on who had a great draft over the weekend?
Well, I think there are a few teams that you look at right away that stand out to me. The 49ers, the first team that comes to mind, just because they had such a great grade on Reuben Foster all along. You look at the New Orleans Saints, what they did. They made 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, Kevin. They came away with players that they liked and loved. And that doesn't even include Alvin Kamara, who the Saints organization has big plans for, and you know Sean Payton's going to be creative. Look at the Buffalo Bills. I love the fact that they got a first-round pick from the Chiefs next year, in addition to Tre'Davious White, a player that a lot of teams love, and Zay Jones, who some teams had as the top wide receiver on the board. So the Bills came away with a couple of great players and then get an extra first-round draft pick and then, of course, go through the front office upheaval that they did on Sunday morning, firing their GM. But to me, those are 3 teams that really stand out in this draft.
Those are the good, and those 3 fan bases probably feeling very good after what they witnessed as they wake up this morning. How about the teams out there that you're like, they fell a little bit short?
Well, the people, it's a little bit of a different answer here. The losers of this draft, to me, the people that didn't make out as well, are the underclassmen who came out, who didn't get drafted this year. And we saw any number of them this year. You take a look at the numbers. Look at the numbers right there, Kevin. 95 players came into the draft early, and 18 wound up going in the first round. But 28 players, 28, left school early and didn't wind up getting drafted. You see some of the names: Katie Cannon, Travis Rudolph, Speedy Noel. There are a lot of names there, and you feel bad for these guys who turn pro, who leave school early and don't even get drafted.
What do you make of that? Travis Rudolph, the Florida State wide receiver, standing out there. What do you make of the decision to do that? Is it to get closer to that second contract? Just get out now, you get this advice, and then you can go in the league?
Look, everybody's different, but I think that by and large, a lot of those players are getting bad advice.
Okay.
They're getting a warped sense of where they might go in the draft, and it doesn't meet up to the reality of what happens on draft day. And of course, they go through the whole process, and sometimes warts are exposed that people didn't think would be there. But the fact of the matter, 29 players turn pro and don't get drafted, and you hate to see that. You wish there was some kind of rule that they can go back to school now.
Yes.
When that happens.
That includes the agent interaction leading into it, by the way. Are you already getting predictions here for the top pick in the draft next year? What are you hearing?
Well, listen, people already are talking about the quarterback class of 2018.
Yep.
Now, a lot changes. And at this time last year, I think everybody pegged Deshaun Watson as the number 1 overall pick, and he winds up going number 12 to the Houston Texans. But there was one front office person that I spoke to last week who told me, you could put it down right now, Josh Allen from Wyoming is going to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2018 draft. There are people that think he's got tremendous ability, big upside. We'll see how that works out. Look, Josh Allen could go into his senior year, struggle, and for all we know, he goes in the 4th round. I think people were once talking about Matt Barkley as a potential number 1 pick, and he goes in the 4th round. So talk today doesn't mean a whole lot tomorrow sometimes. But I can tell you this, there are front office people enamored with this quarterback draft class. They do think that Josh Allen could be at the head of it, though there's been an awful lot of conversation about Sam Darnold from USC, Josh Rosen from UCLA. And look, at this time last year, again, nobody was talking about Mitchell Trubisky, and he winds up going number 2.
Yes.
So there's going to be some quarterback out there that makes a giant leap this year who's going to vault up the draft board, who's going to be into consideration for one of these top quarterback selections next year.
I'll go back 2 years ago. No one was talking about Carson Wentz.
It happens every year.
All right. This doesn't happen every year. The celebration of Philadelphia. What was your reaction? I know you were vocal about the city hosting the draft.
Well, listen, it was like a football game with names being called out. A football game where no game was played, and you just got the introduction of names, because that place, I don't have to tell you, you know what Eagle fans are like better than anybody.
Yes.
That was the most raucous draft, the most rowdy, enthusiastic, passionate draft that there's ever been. And we've had drafts in New York, and the energy would die down as the draft went on, particularly on days 2 and 3. We've had drafts in Chicago, and those cities did a great job, especially Chicago. But Philadelphia brought it to another level and set the bar. I know you like that.
I do.
I know you like that a lot.
Football's a religion in that city, and the stereotype is so easy to go to the negative, but they are passionate, and they showed out 250,000 strong. By the way, is this your first suit of the morning or second one?
Suit?
Yes.
What do you mean?
There's no coffee stains, right, on this one?
Yeah, you know, the barista that laid claim to spilling that drink on me, that was not the real barista. And in fact, if we have time for this quick story.
Of course.
When I went into my local Starbucks in the New York area yesterday, all the baristas were apologetic. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, we heard about it because the national headquarters of Starbucks called that Starbucks because of my Starbucks card, all the activity. I go there all the time to check which barista spilled the drink, but it wasn't there. It was in Philadelphia. It was on 2900 in Broad, and that's where that's where it happened. It was a nice young lady. They were very nice there. They just didn't put the lid on very tight.
Put the lid on tight.
The way it goes.
Sorry about that.
See? Other than that, Philadelphia was very hospitable.
Exactly. And you're a man of power.